Welcome to the SF Times. I'm reporter Richard Rempel. July 1960, fantastic. We'll have a 5-author round-robin story. It will be a most unusual issue. Cele Goldsmith, editor of Fantastic, says, "The July issue of Fantastic features a literary experiment guaranteed to be the delight of SF fans far and wide. 5 top writers combined their talents to produce one round-robin story entitled The Covenant. We gave the boys a cover design that was not connected with anything in particular. Poul Anderson started the ball rolling by creating the characters and situations which were to be picked up, and expanded upon by Isaac Asimov, Robert Sheckley, Murray Leinster, and the whole thing is finally tied together in bang-up fashion by Robert Bloch. This is an opportunity to read an exciting story and a chance to see how 5 of the world's finest SF authors, writing each in his own style, managed to develop one plot. This should prove to be a most interesting issue and a delightful story."
Have you ever heard of this collaborative story? Well, in my last video, I had reviewed Spaceships, Ray Guns, and Martian Octopods, interviews with science fiction legends, edited by Richard Wolinsky. And in here, I found a section about the Covenant, and it had a quote from Robert Bloch. Let me just take you to that right now. Robert Bloch says, "The Covenant. Now that was a round-robin story which each writer contributed an episode, and when they got completely stuck, they gave me the thankless task of finishing it. I never heard anybody comment on it, but that was one of the toughest jobs I ever had, was to follow these desperate styles in a story, because a lot of them were goofing off, you know. They were painting the next writer into a corner and adding things out of left field that didn't belong, and I had the whole accumulation, and somehow I managed to complete it. But no one's ever nominated that story for the Science Fiction Hall of Fame because there's nobody out there that's even heard of it, let alone read it. This piqued my interest, so I went out and I found this story. Now, you can look for it in digital form, but I did find a PDF download of the magazine itself. I'm going to make that available to you. There's a link in the description to this video below. I'll also pin a comment that goes to my Google Drive where you'll find that PDF of fantastic science fiction stories. As you can see here, you'll not only get that story, but you'll get the entire issue itself. The Covenant starts on page 6. The story runs for 40 pages. Poul Anderson starts the story off. Ban is a soldier in a human city losing a war against cloud people who are invading and absorbing the human's territory. He seeks the help of a prophetess who tells him that the cloud people master time, just as humans master space. The only hope for the humans is if Ban can in secret find a way into the stronghold of the cloud people and find some sort of weakness or way that this can be stopped. During Ban's journey, he comes upon fog surrounding the territory of the cloud people. He enters and starts aging mysteriously. Memory and strength begin to fail him, and he's desperate to give up and sleep. And now the baton is handed over to Isaac Asimov. Ban is captured by a boy and a girl, cloud people, and they stop him from falling, that is, to continue aging rapidly. They control the travel in time, just like we control our travel in space. They try to teach Ban how to control his time, but someone called the Knower shows up and dismisses the children. They need to drop Ban and let him fall. That's fall in time. Ban, however, senses a link somehow between the Knower and his prophetess and begs for help. He struggles to get back to his city now with the little information he has on the cloud people, before he falls so far that he dies of old age. Next, we have Robert Sheckley. Ban is desperate, and he tries to move himself through time to halt the aging process, but his untested abilities have disastrous results. Reading from the story itself. He lay helpless on the sand and realized that his stupendous effort had been based upon an incomplete knowledge of time's processes. He had held back death, but its present state was perhaps worse. Stretched out on the sand was the heroic trunk and head of a middle-aged, yellow-bearded man. Beside him was his gun, the barrel deeply pitted, the wooden stock turned green and beginning to sprout. The hand that held the gun was a talon with brown-spotted parchment skin stretched tightly over frail bones. The other hand belonged by rights to a chubby boy of perhaps 12. His legs could be judged at about 4 years old, but there, from those small, fat legs, hung a man's colossal feet. Ban had learned the use of time, partially. Somehow he must pull himself together back to his original state, or he will not make it back to his people. Now, Sheckley is the prankster, or perhaps you would say the jerk of this story in terms of how he sets up the next writers. He throws out 3 small situations, which, each one, become a hindrance to the rest of the story. Here they are. On a planet named by its inhabitants Hilo, a small red crustacean dropped to the sandy ocean floor. Far from his burrow, he moodily contemplated the mysterious ways of love. He considered the reasons for his rejection by the brood queen. He thought of his position in life, the honors he had attained, the chances he had missed. He wondered about the ocean of air far above him, distant, hidden. He finished thinning. With one powerful claw, he pinched off his head, thus committing the 8,000th suicide for that year upon Hilo. His act was in no way remarkable. Rejection by the brood queen was normally followed by suicide upon Hilo. And yet, this one particular act was crucial to Ban and his people. And a second story. In another part of the galaxy at another time and place, an event was taking place whose meaning was crucial to Ban and his people. A biped named Marcellus, of a planet called Terra, sat beneath a huge oak tree. The sun was hidden, and the gloomy forest somewhere in Germania was chilly, so Marcellus pulled his woolen cloak tightly around him. He looked around and tried to figure out where he was. Marcellus and 10 others, under the command of a centurion, had marched out from the forward command post at Lagay to check on the movements of the barbarians. They had penetrated half a day's march into the forest, had been about to turn back when the tall, pale-skinned man had fallen upon them. It had been a slaughter. At the end, Marcellus had fled, and now he was lost. He was an unimportant man, and yet it was very important that he get back, for he, a common foot soldier, had glimpsed a sight in the forest that might change the destiny of Rome itself. And there's a longer third story about a machine, an AI of sorts. Sheckley concludes, and Ban, lying in the coiled sea mists, was dimly aware of all this. A red crustacean, a Roman soldier, a hermaphroditic machine. He fought to become as he had been, struggled, cursed. Slowly, inexorably, he began to succeed. He was becoming Ban again. So now, what is Murray Leinster going to do? Well, he says now Ban can see time and space simultaneously. And ultimately, a doom awaits both his people and the Cloud people. The only way that he can save them is by sacrificing himself, so that they won't even know that he even existed. He starts to do so, but realizes that this may not save his own people, and so he tries desperately to keep himself from dissolution. Leinster really did no favors here in this story. In fact, I would say this is the weakest portion of the story. I don't think he really adds a lot to what is happening here, just puts in some peril. So now, Robert Bloch is faced with Sheckley's prankster story elements and Leinster's failure to really bring anything together. What does he do? The machine that was built by the explorers vanished because it sensed the danger to everything and must protect the survival of its builders by protecting the universe in which they exist. It goes searching for the center of this threat, first finding the crab, then the Roman soldier, and finally Ban. It heals the breach that Ban has caused and finds a different universe for the Cloud people to inhabit. And I think Bloch finishes the story in perfect fashion. In fact, It begs you to go back to the beginning of the story as it turns a phrase that is in the beginning of the story. Of the 5 writers, I'm most impressed by Bloch and his ability to bring this whole mess into a cohesive end. In fact, an ending that I think works really well. So now you have a chance to read the story and let me know what you think. Please comment below. Until next time, keep reading.